It is my absolute pleasure to be here talking with you. You know, you're my teacher, my friend, as well as an internationally renowned musician, dancer, teacher. Your bio, I think, speaks for itself. But so thank you. Thank you for doing
Thank
this
you. It's
today.
my pleasure too. I just wish you and I lived closer because you're an inspiration for me, much more than you possibly could know. There's something with you that inspires me to keep going forward and do more devotional work, ceremonial work, and bring the Black Madonna to the world.
I feel the same about you, my friend. So I'm so glad that we're doing
Okay.
this. So I do
And
want
we
to.
shared her together in Italy, which is a big deal.
We did. We went to Italy together in 2022 and 2023. I took your Campania trip in 2022 and then the Sicily trip in
Yeah,
2023. And
and we had a
both were
blast.
really transformative experiences for me, which is why I want to make sure more people know about the amazing devotional work that you do. But
Thank you.
yeah, let's start with talking about where did your devotion to the Black Madonna start? Because I'm really curious, because you were brought up in Rome, right? I met her in
Yeah,
Sicily, and where there are, there is the Madonna, La Madonna di Tindari, who is a Black
there are
Madonna.
many. Yeah.
There are many Black Madonnas. There are many Black Madonnas all through the south of Italy. And I'm really curious about your story with the Black Madonna. How did you first meet her?
Well, I was devoted to the Madonna in general since a child because my mother was devoted to the Madonna. But I didn't realize that she was black. Even though, as you know, in Rome, the most important churches have icons of Black Madonnas. But I realized this later when I began a research. But I was born in San Giovanni, so right near there, if anybody that listens wants to check them out in Rome, they are in La Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore. It's a Black Madonna icon, and there was an ancient temple that I know they say of Diana, the goddess of the moon. Then there is the La Madonna Nera di Araceli,
Sì.
which is in Piazza Venezia, where the goddess Cibele's temple was, and then Santa Maria in Trastevere. These are the three big ones of really famous churches in Rome that I used to go to, but it didn't occur to me that they were brown. They were not as black as some statues, but Byzantine brown icons, definitely not white. But when I went to start, to start the group in New York in 1980 with John La Barbera, we started from the South to do research on the folk music to bring back to New York and America. It started then. The first Black Madonnas I saw were in Calabria, one after the other, and I was shocked. There was a Madonna di Romania in Tropea, della Madonna dei Poveri a Seminario, province of Reggio Calabria, and then I saw other Black Madonnas on the Ionian side. So that was the calling. I was intrigued, really drawn to these images, and I really felt this energy, which I know a lot now. I know a lot of people experience that with the Black Madonnas, but I was, a little bit shocked because in Rome, that devotion didn't exist because in all these places they played music. Either they danced, they drummed, they sang, and they did these all-night rituals. And so my curiosity came from that as a musician, trying to understand the devotional music and the rhythms because they're very intricate. And then as I started asking, ma perché la Madonna è nera? The answer, the priest's answer was always the famous one that I think it's a joke. It's the candle smoke. And that's what the official answer most of the time they give you, which it's untrue. And that's when I got suspicious because I grew up in Rome. Even though my mother was devoted to the Madonna, my family was leftist, so they didn't really go for priests and the Vatican. I hope I can say that here. No offense to
Of
anybody,
course.
but we knew, like you grew up in Rome, you know all the backstories of what really happens in the Vatican, and it's not nice. So none of us had that kind of devotion. That is the one that they want us to believe. But the pre-Christian devotion to the Great Mother, the Earth Mother Goddess, and many aspects, is still here, and especially in the south of Italy. So that's what the Christian church did, that I learned right after I started this research, is that instead of wiping out the devotion to the goddesses, like Cybele, the Earth Mother Goddess, Isis from Egypt, and Diana, the goddess of the moon, and even Hecate and Aphrodite, they didn't wipe it out. They just transformed it into Mary, the Mother of Christ. I do believe that also in the Christ, the cosmic Christ, I do believe in him. I do feel, especially when Easter comes, I do feel this connection with the Jesus, that not the conventional one, but we know there was a Christ. And I believe in his mother, because this must have been a very powerful woman that gave birth to this kind of prophet and saint. I mean, I see him as a saint and a prophet. And it's proved by many scholars and painters of the time, right after when Jesus died, that Mary and Jesus were brown. They dark skin. They couldn't have been blonde and, with the blue eyes. So that's where I started to put it all together. Okay, so this devotion is pre-Christian. That's why they honor it with this music, which is pre-Christian, and the drumming is also African, because she represents the African mother as well. And that's what the Vatican doesn't want us to believe. And they tried, especially from the Renaissance on, because until the Middle Ages, the Black Madonnas were really powerful. They stopped the plague, they helped with earthquake. I mean, that was a strong devotion connected to the Knights Templars, the Cathars, and so, but in the Renaissance, that's when you start seeing blue eyes and blonde hair Madonnas and Jesus. So that was an invention that came later by great painters, for sure.
But still,
But they were told to do it in a different way.
exactly. And I love that you said
I like to specify that, because most people go, "Oh, Madonna is black," and that's the story in Tindari, right? That the woman goes there to look at the Madonna in Sicily, and she says, "Oh, I came here to see the Mary, and you're black." And then she made the miracle happen, and the little girl fell off the cliff, and the Madonna saved her with the sand embracing her. So it's still, for many people, a shock.
And I think that really speaks to how deeply that anti-blackness, that
Yes.
whitewashing goes, right? And what I really love about your work is that, you have started doing this work like decades ago, really, before we started to have those conversations more publicly, before social media, before it was easy to do this research in some ways on the internet, right? You really, you went to Italy, you studied, you really researched, and kind of immediately your gut feeling was like, of course, it makes sense that the Madonna is black, right? This answer from the Vatican that it's the candles is just whitewashing geographically would make sense that Mary
Right.
and Jesus were black and not white. And also, I love that you take a non-conventional approach, right? One of the things that's been
Right.
very healing for me traveling with you is that you really highlight also how some of the Black Madonna, like La Madonna di Montevergine, for example,
Sì, of
who is
course.
the protector, right, of the gay people, queer people, trans people, like our
That was one of
community.
my first journeys.
Yes. And our
Like
community
in
as a
1987, I didn't know that there
yeah.
was a Black Madonna protector of gays and transgender, and I learned it going there with a gay friend from from Benevento. And coming from I'm older than you, so in the 70s, the gay movement here was really big. I mean, I had the blessing of moving to New York as a teenager for 1 month, and then I never went back for real. In 1971, where the explosion of the gay movement, and I was in it, all the time. I always say the people of these generations don't realize how the gay movement, because in those days it wasn't that simple at all, how that changed the world, the way we live in, for freedom, the arts, culture. And I ended up going always to the Andy Warhol studio, because I lived right down the street on Spring Street and West Broadway. So I was in that too by accident. I don't think so, And I think I could say that here. My first boyfriend was bisexual, so I ended up in all these different clubs, and And so that was really part of my life. My brother, me, my sister. So we're not the Italian immigrants that came for a different, like you. We came here for freedom and for you, for your writing and all the great things you do. For me, it was music.
No.
So I think when I went there in 1987, the first time to Montevirgine, that's what really took me. And I say, she's the protector of gays and transgender. It makes sense too. Because although the outcast, because I felt always different. Didn't you always feel different in Rome?
Absolutely. I always felt out of place. And, when we went together to La Madonna di Montevirgine, I might tear up again. I mean, you
Me
saw
too.
my reaction back in 2022. I was just on my knees sobbing. And I really felt that embrace, that acceptance, and I was very Catholic growing up. And so when I came out,
Oh,
and
you were Catholic when you grew up?
yeah, I
Questo
was.
non lo sapevo. I
My
didn't.
father, non l'avevamo parlato. We
No, I
didn't
thought
talk
no,
about
I,
that.
I thought you were. I mean, by
Yeah.
birth Catholic, but I didn't know that you actually.
Oh, yeah. I had this dissonance where my dad was like a card-carrying communist. So I would go to Festa
So was my father.
dell'Unità tutti gli anni, every year, the Communist Party, big gathering in Rome. And at the same time, I had this devotion, but it was also a time of liberation theology. So I was like
Ah,
a radical Catholic. But still, when I came out, I felt there was no place for me in the church. And so to go to a Madonna where I felt completely accepted. There was this feeling of complete acceptance that washed over me, and just like there was a healing, there was a healing
that's
there, just
beautiful.
like there was a beautiful healing when we went to Sicily the year after on Mount Etna, and
Ah, yes, that was powerful.
I danced the tarantella like on the lava rocks that I still don't know how I didn't scratch my whole body, but
That's
I
true.
didn't, right? It's a miracle, really. And
That's true.
right, that's what I
And
love.
both are sacred mountains. That's really the power of the Earth Mother. We're in her womb. I think you
Exactly.
felt the same, that we were being embraced by the womb, the Earth Mother, for thousands of years that's happened. It's like remembering something, right?
Exactly. And I love that you also talk about the sexuality aspect. That's why I think the Black Madonna is really about liberation.
Yeah.
She embraces the outcast, all the outcasts, the artists, the musicians, trans
The
people, queer
addicted, people who
people,
suffer from
yeah,
addiction,
people who
people
suffer.
who've been arrested.
Yes, she is for liberation and also sexual liberation too. And you talk
Sure.
about how la tarantella, la tamuriata, all these rhythms are also linked to healing sexuality often, right?
Well, I think that's what really drew me to that, to understanding more what her devotion really is, because I felt pretty free after moving to New York, so young, sexually. If I had lived, stayed in Rome, I don't think I would have had that kind of, you
Yeah.
know, 360 degrees freedom.
Yes.
So, and I'm pretty happy with the way I lived my sexual life. And so again, I experienced that kind of liberation here in the 70s, and then going to see these feasts in the south of Italy, where in Rome we would think, oh, they're a little backwards, that we were we always taught that in Rome we're better and all that.
Yes.
It's the other way around. So that's what I learned, especially from the older people at the
Yes.
drumming festival and the dance of Tamuriada in honor of the Black Madonna, especially the one they do in Montevergine, that is an ancient fertility dance. It's an orgiastic ritual that was done for the goddess Cybele in that sacred mountain, where women priestesses honored her using the frame drums, and men became women. And this whole acceptance of changing sex and just being and do it for devotion. I learned that there, and it was pretty mind blowing because it's not in the history books or anything like that. But when you're in it, you feel that sexual liberation, dancing with people that you never seen, never met, all those movements, and then the words that they sing are all about sex, but really about sex. I mean,
Yes.
many different ways. And it's not dirty.
No.
It's that ancient way of honoring the goddess and the earth, and really this desire of it is an orgasmic experience, because as you are dancing all night with that really sensual rhythm with the castanets and all that, it really has that power, to release. So, to my surprise, I found that the older people in the region of Campania, Calabria, not so much in Sicily, and I'm going to share with you what I think happened there, and some parts of Puglia, though those people were more liberated than us growing up in the city. Because
Absolutely.
they are all peasants connected to the earth. They exchange partners, not only in the dance, but outside, behind the church, or at night down the coast. The people would then end up doing that, And I was invited in a couple of orgies by the older people, and I even have it on video, and I was like, what? This is...
And I think those are things that people don't know. That's one of the things I really love about your work is like we have this preconceptions, right? Like you said in Rome,
Absolutely.
people feel, oh, we're in the city. And I knew, like, I had the fortune of being brought up in Rome, but spending a lot of time in Sicily.
That's
And
different.
in Sicily, yes, it's different, but also that you can feel it from the earth, that
Oh,
sensuality.
yeah.
Even if it's been suppressed, right? You can feel that aliveness.
Sure, I think it's the most female island. It's the island of Demeter Persephone. I always felt in Sicily, it's a female, it's a woman island.
Yeah, I
It's
think
all
there's
over the
been a lot
frescoes
of
and the artwork.
absolutely.
You see them, they're all dancing what we now call the tarantella, but the bacchantes were there too. So if you want, I can just add that, how is the connection with the tarantella? I did a lot of research on the tarantella, and I realized it's a healing trance dance, attributed to the mythical bite of the tarantula, but it was really the ecstatic dance done by the women bacchantes in honor of Dionysus. And they were orgiastic rites. People dance, for days and nights, and the women were the ones that led the rituals. So men were invited, but they were controlled by women.
Yeah.
And they used already the tambourine, which is the instrument that I, mastered in my life. And you could see the movements, the hands and the gestures. It was already what we know now as the tarantella. But we don't know what the music sounded like, but we know some pieces come from that time, like Danza dei Siculi. So I started to get into that more and more because I wanted to know more. What is this dance that healed women, especially who suffer from depression and known as tarantate? And then I experienced it myself. And I got sick, first in 1986 with the cancerous cells of the cervix, and I had the surgery, and that's when I had the vision of the Black Madonna over my bed. It really came in saying that I had to follow her path and I was going to feel other people's pain, which I speak about in my book, but I didn't really know what it meant. So I had already seen all these Black Madonnas traveling around, but I didn't know if she's calling me to follow her. Because it's now that I've done this for so many years, I see other people have the similar experiences, especially if you've been sick. She comes through, and then if you surrender to her, you not only get the healing, but you have to really understand her guidance. And she, like many other aspects of the goddess, she's very compassionate and giving, but also austere. If you don't follow certain things, things will get blocked, or things will not go the way you think they're supposed to go. But then again, after a couple of years after that surgery, I got sick. I was bleeding, and I did the tarantella dance to heal, and my bleeding stopped and never came back. And that dance really, after that vision of the Madonna, transformed my life. And I understood that what the ancient people knew was way more valuable than anything that we do today. And that kind of dance can bring back a balance that is lost, mental, physical, emotional, and also it's a dance of liberation.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you can heal yourself. It's self-healing.
And I love that it's also self-healing but held in community, right? And I think the thing that I love about having traveled to these places with you, that you see places and meet people that you would never meet on the tourist path, or even I've been almost everywhere in
Nobody
Sicily.
knows them.
No, I've never been to Argimusco, for example, which is
I
this
know,
beautiful
and
megaliths where
Alcara Lifusi.
Alcara Lifusi, where there's one of the oldest, like very pagan
It's the
ritual.
most pagan feast in all of Italy. See, so Sicily kept that,
Yes,
but it's also
exactly.
kept secret. It's not publicized.
Exactly.
So yeah, to clear for people that are listening, or that will be listening, the oldest pagan ritual dedicated to Demeter and Persephone is in this little town in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. It looks like New Mexico,
Yeah.
called Alcara Lifusi, La Festa do Muzzuni. And we go there when I take people for the summer solstice celebration. It's on the day of the solstice.
Yeah.
The Sicilians, even though they had all these other colonizations, have kept that feast alive. Now it's also connected to St. John the Baptist because that's also his feast, which is a very interesting connection because St. John the Baptist, Salome and Herodias, I did a whole research on that.
Yes.
And in the south of Italy, they said there was a beginning of the witchcraft tradition on
Yes.
that night, the night of St. John.
La notte delle
I did a
streghe.
whole play about that. So that is in Sicily, and that is incredible. So we go there. I take people in this really unusual place. And as you saw, we were the only tourists from far away.
Oh yeah, people were looking, and it was very sweet because I went,
Yeah.
and one of the older women didn't know I spoke Sicilian, and so she was
Ah,
speaking.
really?
Like, basically she
Said
was like,
something in
who
dialect?
are these people, blah, blah. And so I turned around and I spoke Sicilian back to her. And then she went, oh, and I was like, and we had the best conversation, right? Because like my grandma brought me up, so I understand Sicilian. I can speak it a little bit. And she must have been in her 80s. I think one of the weavers, because we had a little bit of time to go around. And it was beautiful. And I was blown away from the La Festa dei Muzzuni because I've been to other feste, right? We had the Madonna della Neve in my mom's town, but this is very different. It's very pagan. It's a beautiful example of, I think it's called syncretism, right? When different religions get
Yeah.
tied together.
And when the
But
women dance with those that rope, oh my God.
it's very, very clear that it's a sexual fertility rite.
Yeah.
And it's a celebration of like fertility and rebirth, and it's so inclusive.
Led all by women.
Yes, it's all women, and there is a lot of music, a lot of dancing, all night in the streets, eating, which is what I would expect
Yeah,
from.
we left early. The big party starts after midnight.
I know I was sad that we were leaving
Yeah.
early,
But,
but
I think that's really interesting and of this culture that people have no idea that these things have been kept alive. And that really helps to not only to heal the earth, but for women too, for women to know we have our own feast every year and they organize it, they do the weaving, they do everything. It's incredible. So I mean, it's true that Sicily has a lot of female women energy. It's just that that dance of the tamoriado, the tarantella, is not done anymore
no,
like that.
not
But it
like.
was. But it was.
And I think that when we play that rhythm, I know I feel it in my body. And then the other gift of La Madonna di Montevergine, because I also have family connected to Positano. If I go back to my from
Ah,
maternal grandfather, right? The family came from Positano. But when I went to Montevergine, the other thing that people don't know is that there is a old tradition of the Femminelli, who are
yep.
basically, well, maybe in North America it's equivalent to two spirit, because it's not just about gender, it's also about sexuality. It's basically people outside, right, of the rigid gender binary. And that was very powerful too, to connect to that tradition of the Femminelli during the
Beautiful.
Candelora. People go there, and again, it's knowing that there is a place where, we belong and we can dance and be
And
ourselves.
they're sacred.
It's sacred, exactly.
Yeah, one of the things I learned is that the femminili, which means young women or are men that live like women, not necessarily do
Yes.
some do, some don't, but it's going back to the pre-Christian rites of the men called Galli. They bring good luck and they're sacred. So A lot of women, when they give birth, they want to touch a femminiello,
Yeah.
or they bring the baby to a femminiello, which is good, or reminiscence of those old rituals for the goddess. That's so beautiful.
It is,
It is
and again,
so
having
beautiful.
Biagino with us who sang those beautiful songs with the Feminiello and one of the Feminielli and sang those beautiful songs. And we also went to we met the folks who are devoted to the Madonna dell'Avvocata. I think when
Yeah.
you're traveling with you, it's not like going on a tourist trip. It's really
No.
meeting incredible artists, local artists, going to incredible places, when we went to Sicily, we also had Giorgio Maltese. When we, who
Yeah,
knows
these very exceptional musicians. Yeah.
exceptional and who has researched all those rhythms that I vaguely remember from when I was tiny, tiny, tiny. And it's so funny because the day they came over, it was like, oh, I just went to Francofonte, which is my mom's village, just yesterday to
Pazzesco.
get a tambourine. Pazzesco, veramente. So it's a devotional experience. I think
Yeah.
those trips are not tourist travels; they're devotional learning experiences. How do
Yeah,
you?
and my intention to lead these tours is to share with as many people as possible. And I don't like really saying a tour because when you say tour, it seems like a typical tour. It's really a pilgrimage
Yes.
and a musical pilgrimage. And that's, my intention is for people to discover not only the Black Madonnas, there are so many. And as you know, in Sicily we started with Tindari, then that great location over the sea with the salt, water lakes that change shape and they look like a woman from above. That is my favorite spot in the world. That's for me a portal into a different dimension. And then from there, then we go, to do the ritual for the goddess of love and the sea, Aphrodite, right there where the Madonna arrived in Tindari. And then when I discovered this megalith, the Argimusco, that also came to me. I gotta share this with people. That's another place that nobody knows. Way better than Stonehenge. I'm pretty sure you've been to Stonehenge.
I
And
agree.
it's nothing compared to Argimusco. Nothing.
Argimusco is incredible, way better than Stonehenge. I agree.
I know.
And talking about I'm getting more mobility issues, but when we were there, and I felt this there is this beautiful woman shape. She looks like Kuan Yin almost. It's like a goddess in the
You're
rock.
right. There's something very oriental
She
about
looks
her,
really like
right?
Kuan Yin, like the Bodhisattva, and I really felt this strong, and the person who was leading us was like, we have to go quickly because it's a sunset, right? And I felt that I wanted to go, and I never
I
moved
can't
that
believe you
fast.
did that.
I still cannot believe that I went up there, but I did it, and it was so emotional. And it really, again, one of the most powerful spiritual experiences I've ever had.
Oh,
That trip
I'm
to
so
Sicily
glad.
with you, seriously. Yeah, it
I
was really
I felt,
powerful.
even if I didn't go up, that's what I felt the first time I went with Federico.
Yeah.
I thought the same. I think Sicily, like other places we go to in this pilgrimage, there was another portal. Once I got there, and
Yes.
every time I go, I feel this. That's another portal to the Cosmic Mother. I see her as the Cosmic Mother.
Yes.
And she's there in profile like this, just praying for us. That's what she does. And being there for the solstice with the sunset, it's just mind blowing.
It was
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't know what I'm really doing with these pilgrimages, and I also know that not everybody's ready for these kind of experiences because they are deep, and I can tell the people. I saw people cry when they just were leaning against the rock of the vulva
yes.
or the rock of the phallus, this giant. We weren't doing anything. They just went to touch it and they started crying. So I think probably what you feel, there's a primordial, some remembrance in the subconscious mind that some ancient times lost in the midst of, we were there, we were connected to these kind of places, power spots of the earth. And for me, this work I do, especially with the film, I wanted to make that, the film that I just made, Musical Journeys with the Black Madonna in Southern Italy, is to really remind people the earth is a living being, she's alive, And Argimusco is one of those places because there is no explanation how those megaliths were made. And I believe she did it. It's not a scientific explanation. It's an esoteric explanation. There is no, people can try to figure things out. Forget it. She is doing it right in front of our eyes, telling us, here I am, and then praying for us. So I really, yeah, I think that's one of the highlights of the Sicily pilgrimage. And I hope that people that come receive that transformative power, like you said. Even if you don't go up the staircase inside, just being in that presence. And I also believe the power of the drumming. Drumming for me, it's always been the drum. So I bring people in places and I drum there, or we sing there, we dance there, because I feel it that I've done it thousands of years ago. We were all doing these things. We all used the drums to pray and to sing.
Oh, absolutely. When we went to places that were very familiar to me, like L'Orecchio di Dioniso near Syracuse, I went there so many times.
Yeah.
When we went there together and we were singing, remember that we went inside, it was like in
the year of Dionysus?
The year of Dionysus.
That was powerful.
That was so powerful, and we sang, and the power that I felt in that moment, even in a place that it's like it opened up a whole new understanding of my ancestral roots and my connection to that land, because it was a place so familiar. I think it cracked something else open, and that's why I wanted more people to learn about this amazing journeys that you do, Alessandra, that you take people, to these places that often we have seen, or we might have been, even some of us who are from those places, or that people might have know that their ancestors might be from there, or might have seen on TV, and really you open up a portal of experience through the singing, the dancing, the music, and the people that you are connected to there, because you also bring local people, local experts, local teachers, local musicians. It's amazing. Yeah,
because I believe, I learned these things from other people. I wasn't born with this knowledge. I grew up in Rome, so I think it's really important to always remember where you learn things, so you honor the teachers and the people that have shared their culture with us,
Exactly.
And I know one of my issues sometimes is young people who study with me don't, and I like to say that because they don't understand the depth of what we're doing. It takes a lifetime to really learn these things, and you never forget your teachers. That's why my way of giving back what I learn and what I do is to bring students from here to learn from people I learned from. So even though in Sicily they're not necessarily my teachers, but I learned so much from them, of their culture, that I wouldn't have known. Who showed me the megaliths of Argimusco? My friend Federico and Sebastiano and Santino, the same with Festa do Muzzuni. Other places I found on my own, but it's really important to remember that we have people that teach us, and then if you are, not only respectful, but also if you want to bring this knowledge to everybody, you always got to go back to them, acknowledge them, because they are the ones from that land, and they will, they deserve to be known. And especially in Campania, like you came, you haven't come with me to Calabria where there are other teachers, but in Campania I have to honor, people like Nando and Isidoro and Biagino. They were born with the tradition of the Tammuriada for the Black Madonna, the traditions of the Femminelli. They go to all the feasts. Right now they're doing all the Easter holiday stuff, also in Sicily. And that's the community.
Yes.
And that's what I feel that here we don't have that. Maybe you do, you created something where you live like that, but here it's so hard, especially in New York and, where I live. And that's why so many people are lost, because they don't have that community that really gives you the strength. And how beautiful is that all these feasts, people go together and they drum and they sing, they chant, they eat, they drink the wine. They're always together.
Exactly.
And it's not heavy. It's not like you're together because you have to do it. No, they do it with love. And
And you're
compassion, so much compassion.
and you're received with love. Like when we were
Yeah,
at the Festa de Muzzuni, you know, and there was one of the groups and they were singing, I was like, oh, and I started singing because I knew the song, you know. I can't even, maybe it was Si Maritau Rosa. It was one of the traditional
I see.
Italian
I
songs.
love that song.
And it didn't matter that we didn't know each other. It was yeah, you come, you
It's
dance, you
true.
sing, you are welcome as a guest, even if you're not from the village, right? And I think that that's one of the things I really love about the way you do this. I want to be respectful of your time, but I love that you talked about community, because I think that's one of the things we need is this piece of cultural rootedness and healing. I've really learned, you know, having moved away and especially living here in the so-called United States, what a gift it is to know what it's like to be rooted in place, you know, to
Yeah.
be indigenous to a place, to have ancestors, to have language and culture. And I see how lost people are, white people in the so-called US, who don't know their cultural roots, who have lost connection
Oh,
to
yes.
land, to language, to culture, to what community looks like, right? And that's
Which, I mean, you are a therapist, you know, that creates so many disorders when people
absolutely.
don't know where they're coming from and really don't have that, they're not grounded. I mean,
No.
of course, that happens, you know, people come to my workshops, they are searching for that. They're searching for these roots, for a connection to something sacred, but also share it with other people. That's, I think, what happens. Just, you know, my retreat in Hawaii was very beautiful, great group of people. Just now in February, nobody wanted to leave or say goodbye. And it also, when we go to Italy, there is always that magic that happens. There's always a
Yes.
circle of magic among the people who come. A lot of times people don't even know why they came.
That's real. Sometimes we're just called to a place.
And they say, I don't know why I came. Right?
And even when you go to Hawaii, you're not just teaching in Hawaii because it's beautiful. I mean, of
No,
course,
it's
it's
a
so
land. It's a
beautiful, okay.
sacred land.
And you're connected to teachers there, you know,
Right,
and to
like
local
Father
indigenous
Phil and
teachers there as
Antineti.
well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's another place for me to honor the people that not only they treat me really well when I'm in Hawaii, it's become a second home, but they also do their tradition. They know it very well, so I need to share. Again, it's got to be shared, especially because I feel, you know, people come in this crazy situation we're in now in the world. The experience with me, with us in Sicily, is completely out of time of what's going on
Yes.
now. It's like, okay, you leave, you enter a zone, and, you know, hopefully you leave behind all the stress, and you just go on this really a journey of initiation, which can never happen here. Not like that.
Not
Impossible.
not for people who are not from here, right? Like the so
No.
many people who were on this journey had ancestors who had come from those regions, and
Yeah.
to me it makes sense. So many spiritual traditions have a value where really you need to go to the land, you need to go from where the ancestral tradition is from, right? And I think that's the power, you know, of those journeys that also gives us strength to then come back and engage in this work of liberation, community building, and
Community building, right?
remembering our common humanity, right?
Right.
From a rooted cultural rooted place.
Yeah, and for me, one of the people that teaches me that the most right now is Isidoro. When we go to the tour in
Yes.
Campania, which is the first week of August, Isidoro is this man who used to be a pizzaiolo. He used to make pizza in Positano, but he went back to his ancestors' land in the mountains over Sorrento, right above the Amalfi Coast, bought that land and took over that cantina, the tavern, which is, I think, almost 600 years old, and you can feel it. And he grows everything there. He has all the animals there. He makes the bread the ancient way, so there's no way that you could get sick with gluten. Isidoro really is the one that I get to know him more and more every year I go. Is really an incredible teacher for me, how he can live like that. And he has a huge follow, and people just go to him and follow him everywhere because he goes from feast to feast to feast, drumming and singing for the Madonna. If you look him up in YouTube, there is Isidora Paranza Ramontano.
Yes.
And his beautiful dancer, Dora, and
See.
Raffaele, the drum player. And you could see it in my film. I filmed them very well. They filmed them very well. And they're doing these beautiful dances. And then Dora was interviewed, and other students of my interview speaking about the healing power of the dance of the tamuriada. And it's real. You can, if you watch them, you can see, wow, it's so sensual,
Oh, and I had
so
the honor
beautiful.
to meet them
And they're always together.
yeah, and when I went to Campania with you, I had the honor to meet them, and we ate there, and it was their beauty. Remember, like their beautiful
That was
food.
my first time meeting Isidoro, actually.
It was
And now we're
amazing.
like family.
Well, of course. I mean, already they welcomed us so warmly, and I was so lucky that my mom and my daughter, so there were three
Right.
generation of us, together, and that was such a gift. Like that meal in that beautiful 600
Mm.
years old, like, cavern-like cantina, and the amazing food that they cooked for us with so much love,
With
the
so much
music
love.
they shared with so much freedom. It's just the love, you can feel the love and the care when
Yeah.
you go there as a guest. I truly felt like a honored guest
Yeah.
at the place.
And now we become like family because this summer I went to the feasts of the Madonna di Mater Domini, which I take people also on the tour.
Amazing.
And I went there on August 14th for the feast with my dancer Peter, and we were with them every single night for 5 nights. It was just incredible. That's their life. The devotion to the Black Madonna is their everyday life.
Well, and it's also your everyday life, Alessandra. I
Yes,
really want to
as you
honor,
can see.
I really want to honor
But I
that.
think my intention and speaking with you about this is to make this bridge, to have
Yes.
more people know, come with us, experience this, really let it happen, let it transform you, and really see things from a different perspective.
Yes.
They don't live like with the stress that we have here. They really don't.
And
They
it's,
don't have an easy life. They're struggling. They're not. Most of these people, except some of my friends in Sicily, as you know, are not wealthy.
yeah,
They come from working class,
yeah,
struggling. Not in Sicily it's a little different. The people that I know, but some are, some not.
yeah.
But they are always happy. They always have a smile, and they have a way of saying like, let it go, let it be, everything is going to be fine, and then they just start with that drum, and that's woo.
And that because there is that power of community, music, food, relationship, which is also how I was brought up. And so when I go back home, it reminds me of what's important. It's so easy here to forget what's important. And when I've gone back, especially when I've gone back with you, because we were with other people who were devoted to how the land is sacred and how community is sacred, like the heart lightens. The heart just lightens because it's like you remember what matters, which is being together, singing together, dancing together. We have enough food to share, and isn't
Right.
that enough often to feel like no matter what other problems there are
It's
going
true.
on, there is this core strength, right? The joy that nothing can take away from
That's
us,
true.
right? Yeah.
And for me personally, this summer was very important because I had a knee replacement
That's right.
only 3 months before I went to lead the tour in Sicily and then Campania. And I could feel it that every day I was getting better and better and better. Every day, because I was doing all these walks for her, and I really made it my mind up, like, I'm going to do this. And, a lot of people don't have that experience after a knee replacement at
No.
all. I even danced. I danced the tamuriada and the tarantella. So I feel that healing was coming from her, from where we were, and the people around me, that support.
Oh,
That's that
absolutely.
feeling of not being alone and supported through, whatever pain, struggle, obstacle. Okay, I had a knee replacement, but I'm going to do it anyway. So,
I understand that because I had the leg injury, but even when we were on Mount Etna, I lay down and I still
I
danced.
know.
I danced lying down and it worked, and it was
I
such
know.
a transformative experience.
On that rough ground.
On that, and I had not even a scratch, not even
Nothing.
a scratch.
That's incredible.
It is incredible.
I know.
Carissima, I could talk with you for like 3 hours about this,
Yes,
but
I
I
know.
know that it's late in New York and you have things to do. But if people are inspired, excited to find out more about your work, to find out more about your book, the trips that you organize
Yes, there
every
is my
year,
book
yeah, you should also, we should talk about the book for a moment. Like,
and the film. Yes, so
yes, Healing Journeys
this
with
is
the Black
the
Madonna.
book that it really is my life's work, because it's my experience and my story, personal stories of healing and research. It's, as you know, it's historical too. It's called Healing Journeys with the Black Madonna, and it's published by a very good publisher, Inner Traditions. And I was very lucky to have the foreword by Reverend Matthew Fox, who's an expert scholar and amazing man, also an activist for the gay movement and for the Earth Mother and for the Black Lives Matter. And so the book is doing, it's been doing well, and it's got a lot of photos, lots and lots of photos of all my research. I started out thinking I was going to write a couple of hundred pages, and it's 435, because all the Madonnas came through telling me, you got to keep going, you got to keep.
They do
And
that.
so I couldn't stop. And then I also made a film based on some of the chapters of the book, and called Healing Musical Journeys with the Black Madonna in Southern Italy, which was funded by Casa Italiana of NYU, which is really important. And that is available for screening if people are interested. They could see it on my website, alessandrabelloni.com, or write to me, alessandrabelloni@gmail.com. And the tours are coming up, still have space, in June. In Sicily, it's June 19th through the 29th, because we go there for the solstice. And we start from La Madonna del Tindari, right near Messina, and we go to do the ceremonies in the water by the Black Madonna there, and as we say, the megaliths of Agimusco, then the feast of the solstice of the Muzzuni, and then we go to see other Black Madonnas there near Messina and Catania, and a great feast at Parco GIULLARI, which is this incredible place where my musician friends live and own, amazing spot too. And we end in Mount Etna with the drumming and dance ritual. And last year the volcano was answering us when we were drumming. I swear, I started,
No, I
tum, tum,
believe
and it
you.
goes
Yeah.
boom. And my tour guide, Michele, looked at me and said, Alessandra, what are you doing? And I said, nothing. And he said, what do you mean? I've been here 12 days, before coming with you, and the volcano didn't do that.
Yeah.
So I told him, don't tell anybody, because I want people to get scared. We're drumming, the volcano is answering us. That's how it goes. That is one of the, I know you had a powerful experience on Mount Etna. This one for me was one of the most powerful experiences ever. I even wrote a song for it, which I have not finished. I mean, I wrote a song, but I haven't performed it. But it's incredible to feel that you're on that earth drumming and the volcano is going.
Yeah.
There's no words for that. And then the second tour is the first week of August, near Naples. We start from Castellammare. We do 2 days workshops with Nando, my co-teacher, who was my teacher, Nando Citarella. We go to see the Madonna Avvocata with Isidoro, Positano, the Black Madonna by the Sea, bellissima.
Amazing.
And then we go to La Madonna della Neve, when they find the Madonna in the water, which is really the connection to Aphrodite coming out of the water. And in Torre Annunziata, and then we go to Monte Vergine with Biagino, one of the Feminielli, who sings those chants beautifully for her, and that's where everybody cries.
That's real, yes.
And then we cry even more sometimes, and when we end La Madonna della Libera, Our Lady of Freedom in Moiano near Benevento, which is the one directly connected to Isis, the one right behind me. And
Yeah, another very powerful
most
Madonna.
devoted to. So in the film, you will see that at the end, and hopefully we do something again together and talk about the film or show some scenes from the film.
Oh, absolutely. And so I will put all those links in the description of the video, because the video will stay up on the YouTube channel. I'll also try to put it on Instagram as well. I'll put all
Thank
those
you.
links there so people can find it. Well, thank you for your time. And I absolutely want to have another conversation because we haven't even touched on how the Black Madonna is also connected to like Sara Lacali and so many other,
Yes.
like there are so many connections. I feel we could be talking about the Black Madonna for a week and we
Sure.
still
We could
wouldn't
do
be
a series.
exhausting our power. Yes,
We could definitely do a series.
exactly. Well,
And
thank
I'm
you.
honored because you are an amazing, I know you're an incredible therapist and writer and always full of joy and supportive. It really touches my heart. Sometimes I feel like crying when I think, oh, Alex, you're the best and so knowledgeable and you're so humble.
Thank you. But
People
that
like that your kind of knowledge usually are not that humble. You're a scholar, but you're very humble.
Thank you. And I feel the same about you. You are an incredible musician. GIULLARI di Piazza has been going for 45 years as a nonprofit
Yes.
because you don't do that's the other thing that I really honor about you, that you're not doing this for your financial gain. In fact, I
Not
know
really. I should, but
I've seen the bank
I
account
mean, I
as a
need to get
virtual.
paid, but
Exactly.
I hadn't done it like some people say to run a business. No, I really did it
You're
for
running a
the love of the
nonprofit.
arts and
Exactly.
and the
Yeah.
Madonna. That's what I always say when I present a film. I have a screening May 3rd in the Garibaldi Museum. I always say, please know that I did this film for devotion, not for promotion. It could be, sure, it could help with promotion, but it needed to be done to show the devotion, how is it important today.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm on your board for the nonprofit. And so I know that you always try to keep your trips accessible as you can,
Yeah,
because, it costs money to hire buses in Sicily,
we need funds for sure,
pay
yes.
artists and of course, cover all the costs, but you really try to keep that cost down because you're doing it out of devotion. And it's like that's one of the things that keeps me going in this work of like supporting you and making sure more and more people know about your amazing work is because it's rooted in devotion and care.
Yeah.
This is not really about self-aggrandizement. It's really about the devotion and care, even though you are an incredible musician, you've researched the Black Madonna in so much depth, and you are really, award winning. You've worked with Remo to make drums that otherwise would be really
Yeah,
difficult to
that's right. I
find
designed
in
my
this
own
country.
tambourines.
You've designed your own tambourine so that people could get tambourines here if they're not able to go. And it's even hard actually to find proper tambourines in southern Italy now, sometimes if you don't know where to
Yeah,
go. So, you're incredible, but you're also very humble because you're doing this work in
thank you.
service to her, right? In service to the Madonna. Yeah.
Grazie.
Carissima, grazie, grazie di
Grazie a
cuore come
te.
sempre. And thank you for everybody who joined us. Thank you if you joined the live, if you're watching this afterwards, after we recorded. Let us know what touched your heart if you want to in
That's
the
right.
comments. And please go check out Alessandra's work because it's incredible. And if you feel called to take one of those journeys with her, I really, really recommend that you do. And if you feel cold, just put it out there. The support will come. Ask your community because we need more and more of us to really have those experiences. Remember where we come from if we have been disconnected, if we're displaced. And so it's really important. If you feel cold, I couldn't recommend those
Oh,
journeys
thank you. And I hope you come
more
back with
highly.
me. Andiamo.
Oh, non vedo l'ora, certo che voglio tornare.
Dobbiamo assolutamente tornare, andare
Okay.
insieme.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
Ciao. Grazie.